Doctor is an academic title that originates from the Latin word of the same spelling and meaning. The word is originally an agentive noun of the Latin verb docere, to teach. It has been used as an academic title in Europe since the 13th century, when the first doctorates were awarded at the University of Bologna and the University of Paris. Having become established in European universities, this usage spread around the world. Contracted Dr. or Dr., it is used as a designation for a person who has obtained a doctorate, commonly a PhD. In past usage, the term could be applied to any learned person. In many parts of the world today it is also used by medical practitioners, regardless of whether they hold a doctoral-level degree. The doctorate appeared in medieval Europe as a license to teach, Latin, licentia docendi, at a medieval university. Its roots can be traced to the early church, when the term doctor referred to the apostles, church fathers, and other Christian authorities who taught and interpreted the Bible. The right to grant a licentia docendi was originally reserved to the church, which required the applicant to pass a test, take an oath of allegiance and pay a fee. The Third Council of the Lateran of 1179 guaranteed the access, now largely free of charge, of all able applicants, who were, however, still tested for aptitude by the ecclesiastic scholastic. This right remained a bone of contention between church authorities and the slowly emancipating universities, but was granted by the Pope to the University of Paris in 1213, when it became a universal license to teach, licentia ubiqui docendi. However, while the licentia continued to hold more prestige than the bachelor's degree, baccalaureus, it was eventually positioned below the magister and the doctorate, which became the only titles with which one could teach. The earliest doctoral degrees in theology, law, and medicine reflected the historical separation of university study into these three fields. Over time, the Doctor of Divinity has become less common, whereas studies in law and medicine have become more common. These areas were historically referred to as philosophy, used as a general term for academic studies, not the specific academic discipline of philosophy, but are now classified as humanities and sciences, respectively. The historical usage survives in the degree of Doctor of Philosophy. The Doctor of Philosophy was originally a degree granted by a university to learned individuals who had achieved the approval of their peers and who had demonstrated a long and productive career in the field of philosophy, in the broad sense of the term, meaning the pursuit of knowledge. The appellation doctor, from Latin, teacher, was usually awarded only when the individual was in middle age. It indicated a life dedicated to learning, knowledge, and the spread of knowledge. The PhD entered widespread use in the 19th century at Friedrich Wilhelm University in Berlin as a degree to be granted to someone who had undertaken original research in the sciences or humanities. Prior to the formal degree, the contemporary doctorate, PhD, arguably, arose in Leipzig as a successor to the master's degree in 1652, Dr. Habel. In some European countries, such as Italy and Portugal, doctor became a title given to all or most degree holders, not just those with doctorates. As a result, the title is now used by many professionals in these countries, including those such as lawyers who are not normally granted the title elsewhere. The title is also used for lawyers in South America, where they have traditionally earned doctoral degrees, as well as in the former Portuguese territories of Goa in India and Macau in China. The primary meaning of doctor in English has historically been with reference to the holder of a doctoral degree. These particularly referred to the ancient faculties of divinity, law, and medicine, sometimes with the addition of music, which were the only doctoral degrees offered until the 19th century. During the 19th century, PhDs became increasingly common in Britain, although to obtain the degree it was necessary to travel to continental Europe or, from 1861, to the United States, as the degree was not awarded in the UK until 1917. However, the title, not being protected by law, was adopted by quacks. As a result, by the mid-19th century, it was normal in the UK to omit the title Dr. when addressing letters to those holding doctoral degrees, and instead write the abbreviated form of the degree after the name, example the Reverend Robert Phelps, D.D., Thomas Elliotson, ESQ.M.D., or John Lindsay, ESQ. Ph.D., in order to avoid classing academic doctors with the village apothecary and the farrier and various quacks in literature, science, or art. In the US it similarly became customary to use postnominals rather than the title of doctor when addressing letters. All those with doctoral degrees continued to use the title professionally and socially. Despite being historically associated with doctorates in law, the title of doctor for lawyers has not customarily been used in English-speaking countries, where lawyers were traditionally not required to have a university degree and were trained by other lawyers by apprenticeship or in the Inns of Court. The exception being those areas where, up to the 19th century, civil law rather than common law was the governing tradition, including admiralty law, probate, and ecclesiastical law. Such cases were heard in the Doctors' Commons, and argued by advocates who held degrees either of Doctor of Civil Law at Oxford or Doctor of Law at Cambridge. As such, lawyers practicing common law in England were not doctoral candidates and had not earned a doctorate. When university degrees became more common for those wanting to qualify as a lawyer in England, the degree awarded was the Bachelor of Laws, LLB. Similarly in the US, even though degrees became standard for lawyers much earlier, the degree was again the LLB, only becoming the Juris Doctor, JD, generally in the latter half of the 20th century. In many English-speaking countries, it is common to refer to physicians by the title of doctor, even when they do not hold a doctoral-level qualification. The word doctor has long had a secondary meaning in English of physician, example in Johnson's dictionary, which quotes its use with this meaning by Shakespeare. In the US, the medical societies established the proprietary medical colleges in the 19th century to award their own MDs, but in the UK and the British Empire, where degree granting was strictly controlled, this was not an option. The usage of the title to refer to medical practitioners, even when they did not hold doctoral degrees, was common by the mid-18th century. However, the first official recognition of doctor being applied as a title to medical practitioners regardless of whether they held a doctoral degree was in 1838, when the Royal College of Physicians resolved that it would regard in the same light, and address by the same appellation, all who have obtained its diploma, whether they have graduated elsewhere or not. The Medical Act 1858 made it illegal for anyone not qualified in medicine to use a title that implied they were. This led to prosecutions of people making unauthorized use of the title Dr. However, it also called into question the use of the title by licentiates of the colleges of physicians, all of whom were, under the new act, allowed to practice throughout the UK. In 1859, the London College reversed its earlier decision, resolving that the title of doctor shall not be given in any official document issued from this college to any person who is not possessed of the degree of Doctor of Medicine. This was followed up in 1860 by new bylaws that stated no fellow, member, or licentiate of the college shall assume the title of Doctor of Medicine, or use any other name, title, designation, or distinction implying that he is a graduate in medicine of an university, unless he be a graduate in medicine of an university. In Ireland, the question of whether the license of the Royal College of Physicians of Ireland granted the title of Doctor of Medicine led to a court case in 1861, with the conclusion that it did not. The British Medical Journal, BMJ, observed, however, that anyone wanting the right to the title of doctor could gain it with a 5-shilling degree of Doctor of Philosophy from abroad, or could simply assume the title, as only Doctor of Medicine was actually protected. Debate continued as to the use of doctor as a courtesy title by those who did not use it by right as holders of doctoral degrees, with the BMJ noting in 1876 that we have again a sort of flood of letters for and against the use of the title of doctor by physicians, and in 1882 that there is not any other subject which appears to excite so widespread an interest as this. In February 1876, a report recommended that the Royal College of Physicians should use the courtesy title of doctor for all fellows and members, but this was rejected. Then in April of the same year, the college amended its bylaws to forbid any fellow, member, extra licentiate, or licentiate from using the title of doctor unless they had a doctorate in medicine from a recognized university, closing the loophole the BMJ had identified. It was not until the early 20th century that this was reversed. In 1905 the Royal College of Surgeons passed a motion instructing their council to take the necessary steps in conjunction with the Royal College of Physicians to ensure that all persons who pass the CONJ ointment examination shall be legally entitled to call themselves doctors. The Council of the Surgeons College felt it to be impractical to secure the legal right to the title, as this would mean gaining the right to award MDS, but noted that the title had been used by the public to refer to medics for generations and was used without any legal right by bachelors of medicine. The only obstacle to licentiates of both colleges doing the same was the prohibition in the physicians' bylaws. On this occasion the College of Physicians refused to act, but they did finally relent in 1912, removing the clause forbidding the assumption of the title of doctor. This was described in the American press as the British apostles of red tape have been forced to bow to the popular will. Regulation of the medical profession also took place in the United States in the latter half of the 19th century, preventing quacks from using the title of doctor. However, medical usage of the title was far from exclusive, with it being acknowledged that other doctorate holders could use the title and that dentists and veterinarians frequently did. The Etiquette of Today, published in 1913, recommended addressing letters to physicians, full name, MD, and those to other people holding doctorates Dr., full name, although both were Dr. In the salutation, and only physicians were explicitly said to include their title on their visiting card. By the 1920s there were a great variety of doctorates in the U.S., many of them taking entrance directly from high school, and ranging from the Doctor of Chiropractic, D.C., which, at the time, required only 2 or 3 years of college-level education, up to the Ph.D. All doctoral degree holders, with the exception of the J.D., were customarily addressed as doctor, but the title was also regularly used, without doctoral degrees, by pharmacists, ministers of religion, teachers, and chiropodists, and sometimes by other professions such as beauty practitioners, patent medicine manufacturers, etc. By the 1940s, the widespread usage of the title in the U.S. was under threat. A 1944 article claimed that the Ph.D. has immediate and far-reaching value of social as well as economic nature due to America's national fondness for the tinsel of titles, but went on to note that some universities were moving away from using the title, concluding that it is ungracious in most environments not to render unto the Doctor of Philosophy his doctor title. The same writer noted in a letter to the Journal of Higher Education in 1948 that Alfred University had banned the use of the title for faculty, while retaining it for the president and deans, in a strange move professedly designed to uphold and promote democracy and Americanism. However, it was noted in 1959 that professors with PhDs were now generally addressed as doctor, with the title of professor sometimes being substituted for those without doctorates, leading to a decline in the perceived value of that title. In the 1960s the inconsistent usage at American universities and colleges was mentioned in the New York Times Book Review, and the editor of Science noted that, in some universities, administrators call all PhDs Mr., but students and colleagues call them doctor. Often, but not always, PhDs are Misters socially. In industry and government, both socially and professionally, they are doctors, as they are also in the pages of the New Yorker, Time, the Saturday Review, and the New York Times. In 1965, the League of Women Voters designated MDs Dr. and PhDs Mr. At a hustings in Princeton, leading to a letter of protest in Science, it was reported that the League believed PhDs would be embarrassed by the title, and that etiquette writers differed in whether PhDs used the title. In 1970, reverse snobism in the face of the rising number of discount doctorates was linked to professors at prestigious universities wanting to be called Mr. In the late 1960s the rising number of American law schools awarding Juris Doctor, JD, degrees led to debate over whether lawyers could ethically use the title doctor. Initial informal ethics opinions, based on the canons of professional ethics then in force, came down against this. These were then reinforced with a full ethics opinion that maintained the ban on using the title in legal practice as a form of self-laudation, except when dealing with countries where the use of doctor by lawyers was standard practice, but allowed the use of the title in academia if the school of graduation thinks of the JD degree as a doctor's degree. These opinions led to further debate. The introduction of the new Code of Professional Responsibility in 1969 seemed to settle the question, in states where this was adopted, in favor of allowing the use of the title. There was some dispute over whether only the PhD-level Doctor of Juridical Science should properly be seen as granting the title, but ethics opinions made it clear that the new code allowed JD holders to be called doctor, while reaffirming that the older canons did not. As not all state bars adopted the new code, and some omitted the clause permitting the use of the title, confusion over whether lawyers could ethically use the title doctor continued. The introduction of further professional doctorates in the U.S. at ISD Level 7, the same as the MD and JD, has led to continuing debate about the use of the title by holders of such degrees, particularly in medical contexts. In 2018, a decision by the Globe and Mail newspaper in Canada to update its style guide so as to restrict the use of the title doctor to medics led to a backlash on Twitter, particularly by women with PhDs, using the hashtag #ImmodestWomen hashtag. This was widely reported on internationally and led to the Globe and Mail reverting to its earlier style of using doctor for both physicians and PhD holders. The Canadian University of Calgary also announced that it would adopt the use of doctor for those with doctoral degrees, breaking with the style recommended by the Canadian press. Throughout much of the academic world, the term doctor refers to someone who has earned a doctoral degree, highest degree, from a university. This is normally the Doctor of Philosophy, abbreviated PhD, sometimes PhD in North America, from the Latin philosophiae doctor or DPhil from its English name or equivalent. Research doctorates at Level 8 of the International Standard Classification of Education 2011 classifications, ISD 2011, or Level 6 of the ISD 1997 classifications. Beyond academia, but specifically in the Anglophone world, Italy and France, doctor as a noun normally refers to a physician who would usually hold a qualification at Level 7 of ISD 2011/Level 5 of ISD 1997, such as the British MBBS or the American MD or DO. When addressing several people, each of whom holds a doctoral title, one may use the plural contraction DRS, or doctors. In American English, or in some languages, for example, German, Dres. From the Latin doctors, may be used, for example, instead of Dr. Miller and Dr. Ahmed, Drs. Miller and Ahmed. When referring to relatives with the same surname, the form the Doctors Smith can be used. The abbreviation doctors can also refer to doctorandus, a Dutch academic title that was replaced with the master title with the introduction of the master system. In English, doctor is not usually combined with other titles, except for the Reverend in the Rev. Dr. before the surname of a minister of religion, example the Rev. Dr. Smith or the Rev. John Smith, D.D., and similarly Rabbi Dr. In Caribbean English, the usage Dr. the Honorable is common for politicians holding doctoral degrees. Usage in many other languages is similar to English, but some, notably German, allow for the stacking of titles. In the United Kingdom, India, Pakistan, Hong Kong, Trinidad and Tobago, South Africa, Australia, New Zealand, Ghana, and other countries whose cultures were recently linked to the UK, the title doctor is generally used both for those who hold doctoral degrees and for registered medical practitioners. History has dictated the use of the courtesy title Dr. by physicians and general practitioners. However, surgeons do not use the title of Dr. and, due to the origins of surgery with the barber surgeons, instead use Mr., Mrs., MS, Miss, etc. This custom applies to surgeons of any grade who have passed the appropriate exams and is not the exclusive province of consultant-level surgeons. In recent times, other surgically orientated specialists, such as gynecologists, have also adopted these prefixes. A surgeon who is also a professor is usually known as professor and, similarly, a surgeon who has been ennobled, knighted, created a baronet or appointed a dame uses the corresponding title, lord, sir, dame. Physicians, on the other hand, when they pass their MRCP, UK, examinations, or equivalent, do not drop DR but retain it, even as consultants. The status and rank of consultant surgeons, addressed as Mr. or Ms., and consultant physicians, addressed as Doctor, is equivalent. In the United States, the use of the title doctor is dependent upon the setting. The title is commonly used socially by physicians and those holding doctoral degrees. However, there was formerly a division between Letitia Baldridge and Miss Manners on its social usage by those who are not physicians. Baldridge saw this usage as acceptable, while in contrast, Miss Manners wrote that only people of the medical profession correctly use the title of doctor socially, but supports those who wish to use it in social contexts in the spirit of addressing people according to their wishes. Miss Manners has since softened her approach, noting in her The Washington Post column that there are two approaches: having been earned, it should be used, and that level of education being assumed, it need not be expressly mentioned. While she maintains that everyone should be addressed according to their wishes, she no longer states that only medical professionals use the title correctly but instead acknowledges that the title has been earned by those with PhDs. The Emily Post Institute similarly advises that socially as well as professionally, medical doctors, dentists, and other professionals are addressed by, and introduced with, their titles. People who have earned a PhD or any other academic, non-medical doctoral degree have the choice of whether to use DR, both professionally and socially. Other advice columns have also noted that it has become common to see someone with a PhD addressed on the envelope as DR, and as a consequence, deviation from convention has become acceptable. The 2017 book Etiquette Rules gives identical forms for addressing a doctor of medicine, MD, dental surgery, DDS, veterinary medicine, DVM, etc., and the holder of a PhD, advising in both cases the use of initials after the name for formal correspondence and DR before the name for social correspondence. Although the usage of the title by PhD graduates has become common, its use socially by holders of professional doctorates, other than those noted, is neither explicitly endorsed nor explicitly discouraged by writers on etiquette. Miss Manners has, however, stated that a physician who has had their license revoked should be addressed by their former preferred honorific, i.e. not according to their MD degree. It is unusual for those who hold honorary doctorates to use the title doctor. Publications from the Office of the President of the United States of America also refer to PhD holders as Dr. So-and-so, and Jill Biden, who holds an ed. used the style Dr. Jill Biden as Second Lady and has continued to do so as First Lady. For addresses, defined as the conventional forms of address as determined by social and official custom, NASA uses DR, full name, in addresses for PhD holders, while for physicians it uses full name, MD, although both are addressed as DR, surname, in the salutation, which is described as informal. The National Institutes of Health similarly use DR, surname, in salutations for people with an MD, PhD, or DDS. They advise using full name followed by degrees in addresses, explicitly stating not to use the title DR, although an example in the following paragraph does use the title rather than giving degrees. Most newspapers in the U.S. follow the AP style book and reserve the title for physicians in their house styles. Notable exceptions include the New York Times, which follows the preference of the individual when referring to PhD holders, although the title is not used for those with honorary doctorates, and the Wall Street Journal, which similarly prefers DR. For PhD holders and physicians, if this is the person's choice, while stating explicitly that the title is not used for lawyers with JDs or people with honorary doctorates. Until 1989, the Washington Post used the title for practitioners of the healing arts, including chiropractors and osteopaths, but not for holders of PhDs or honorary degrees, after which it dropped its use entirely. Some sources state that AP style allows the use of DR for holders of non-medical doctoral degrees as long as their specialty is given. The expansion of professional doctorates in clinical fields in the late 20th and early 21st centuries has led to disputes between physicians and other medical professions over who can use the title in a clinical context. This has been interpreted by some as part of larger battles within medicine, such as who gets to treat patients first and who has prescribing authority. The American Medical Association calls for non-physicians, those not holding an MD or DO, who use the title doctor and are in direct contact with patients to clarify that they are not physicians and to define the nature of their doctorate degree, while the American Osteopathic Association opposes the use of the title by non-physicians in clinical settings absolutely as, in their view, such use deceives the public. Contrary to this, the Emergency Nurses Association has adopted as a position statement that 1. Nurses are entitled to have their educational degrees recognized and acknowledged in the same manner as other professions. 2. The proper title protection and use of accurate credentials is appropriate in the clinical setting. 3. When being addressed or introduced as doctor in the clinical environment, it is responsible practice for all healthcare providers to clarify their professional role. 4. Patients, families, and the general public have a right and expectation to be informed regarding the credentials of their caregivers, including the use of the title doctor. The American Medical Association launched a campaign in 2011 for states to adopt truth in advertising legislation. As a result, many states now have laws in place that protect the title of doctor when offering medical services. In some jurisdictions, the use of the title in healthcare is limited to those who have both a doctorate and are licensed to practice medicine, and there is a requirement that the field of the doctorate be disclosed. Some other jurisdictions require the practitioner to hold a doctorate and to disclose the field, but make no stipulations as to licensing. Some states require name badges to be worn in medical facilities giving first name, licensure status, and staff position, although these laws may not explicitly address the use of the title doctor. Although lawyers in the United States do not customarily use the title, the law degree in that country is the Juris Doctor, a professional doctorate. Some JD holders in the United States use the title of doctor in professional situations, although ethics board decisions have varied on whether this is permissible or might mislead the public into believing the lawyer was medically qualified or had a PhD. It is also sometimes used by JD holders in academic situations. In 2011, Mother Jones published an article claiming that Michelle Bachmann was misrepresenting her qualifications by using the bogus title doctor based on her JD. The article was later amended to note that the use of the title by lawyers is a begrudgingly accepted practice in some states and not in others, although they maintained that it was rarely used as it suggests that you're a medical doctor or a PhD and therefore conveys a false level of expertise. Ecclesiastical seminaries and entitled churches award their own doctorates in the United States, e.g. the Doctor of Religious Science, DRSC Rel, the Doctor of Divinity, DD, the Doctor of Biblical Studies, DBS, or the Doctor of Metaphysics, DRMPH. These titles are most commonly awarded to meritorious clerics for their outstanding work or another achievement in the field of religious and biblical studies. American professional doctorates are not generally considered doctoral-level degrees internationally, instead being classified as bachelor's or master's level. The ISD mapping for these degrees, developed collaboratively between the US and UNESCO, places them at master's level. As a result, holders of MD, JD, PharmD, etc. may not be permitted to use the title of doctor in countries such as Germany where this is strictly controlled. In the European Union, the title of doctor refers primarily to holders of postgraduate research doctorates, such as the PhD. In many European languages the term doctor is distinct from a medical practitioner, which can be referred to as e.g. Läkare in Swedish, Arzt in German, Doctor or Arts in Dutch, or lakery in Finnish. Standardization of degrees into the 3 cycles of bachelor's, master's, doctorate across the European higher education area, EHEA, is being carried out through the Bologna process, although not all EHEA member states have fully conformed to the 1999 Bologna Declaration in favor of their own historic customs. With respect to the title doctor, the Bologna process makes no prescriptions regarding the names of degrees nor the titles they may confer. However, under the Lisbon Recognition Convention, recognition of a foreign degree allows the use of an academic title, subject to the laws and regulations of the country in which recognition is sought. According to the explanatory report, this means that the competent authorities of the parties may grant the right to use the title in the exact form in which it was awarded in the party concerned or in any other form. They may alternatively grant the right to use the corresponding title of the country in which recognition is sought. Doctor is commonly used in the United Kingdom as the title for a person who has received a doctoral degree or, as courtesy title, for a qualified medical practitioner or dentist who does not have a doctorate. There are no restrictions on the use of the title doctor in the United Kingdom, except where, in commercial advertising, it might imply that the user holds a general medical qualification. The UK government allows medical doctors and holders of doctorates to have the title recorded on the observations page of their UK passport. The lack of legal restrictions was confirmed in Parliament in 1996 by Health Minister Gerald Malone, who noted that the title doctor had never been restricted by law to either medical practitioners or those with doctoral degrees in the UK, although the titles physician, doctor of medicine, licentiate in medicine and surgery, bachelor of medicine, surgeon, general practitioner, and apothecary were protected. According to the Etiquette Guide, doctorates, holders of doctoral degrees and medical doctors, but not surgeons, should be addressed as doctor. For medical doctors, doctor is a professional title rather than an academic one. It is due to their being a medical practitioner rather than their having gained a doctoral degree. The Quality Assurance Agency states that the use of the title DR by medical doctors is a historical abbreviation for the profession. It does not indicate a qualification at doctoral level. On guest lists and seating plans for formal events, holders of academic doctorates, but not medical doctors or other people using the title as a courtesy title, are listed either as Dr. John Smith or John Smith, Esq, PhD, while untitled men, other than those holding doctorates, are shown as either Mr. John Smith or John Smith, Esq, as appropriate to ensure the styling remains consistent. The title DR is also used on visiting cards. Medical students in the UK normally complete a course of study leading to the degree of Bachelor of Medicine and Bachelor of Surgery, MBBS, BMBS, or MBCHB. The MD degree is not a qualifying degree in the UK, but can be either a professional doctorate, at the same academic level as a PhD, a doctorate by thesis, or a higher doctorate, depending on the university. To be eligible for an MD degree in the UK, one must already hold an entry-level medical degree, for example, MBBS, MBCHB, BMed, or a North American MD degree, and usually must have had at least 5 years of postgraduate training and experience. Trainee doctors are permitted to use the title doctor once they have started their post-graduation foundation program. Debret states that medical doctors, except surgeons, should be addressed on envelopes as Dr., full name, medical qualifications, e.g. Dr. John Smith, MD, Dr. N. Jones, MBBS, FRCP, Dr. David Evans, MBCHB, contrary to the normal rule of not mixing titles and postnominals. Surgeons, and dentists, if not holding a doctoral degree, should be, full name, ESQ, medical/dental qualifications, e.g. John Smith, ESQ, MS, FRCS, David Evans, ESQ, BDS, but Dr. N. Jones, DDS, FDS/RCS, By contrast, those holding, non-medical or dental, doctoral degrees, if not surgeons, should be Dr., full name, without postnominals on envelopes, e.g. Dr. John Smith. A.N.C. Black's titles and forms of address diverges from Debrett's on how to address envelopes to medical doctors, omitting the prenominal title of Dr., e.g. John Smith, Esq, M.D., John Smith M.D., John Smith, M.B., except in Scotland and for general practitioners, where the postnominals are instead usually omitted, e.g. Dr. John Smith. Blacks also state that it is down to individual choice whether non-medical doctors are addressed on envelopes as Dr. John Smith or John Smith, Esq, Ph.D., or appropriate letters for the doctorate held, with the exception of Doctors of Divinity, who would be the Reverend J. Smith, D.D. on the envelope and Reverend Sir in a formal salutation, informally in the salutation Dear Dr. Smith, and Dr. Smith in speech. The custom of not referring to surgeons, members and fellows of the Royal College of Surgeons, as doctor has been commented on in the British Medical Journal and may stem from the historical origins of the profession, such as that some barbers also used to function as surgeons. In 2005, the then president of the Royal College of Surgeons called upon surgeons to use the title of Dr., saying that the use of Mr. or Miss was confusing to patients. Blacks note that gynecologists are addressed as surgeons in England and Wales but as doctors elsewhere. In a similar manner to the medical MBBS, dentists qualify with a Bachelor of Dental Surgery, BDS, and vets with a Bachelor of Veterinary Science, BVSC, Bachelor of Veterinary Medicine, BVetMed, or Bachelor of Veterinary Medicine and Surgery, BVMS. All of these are, like the MBBS, master's level qualifications that bear bachelor's designations for historical reasons. Dentists have traditionally, as dental surgeons, been referred to in the same way as surgeons, but since 1995 the General Dental Council have permitted dentists to use the title doctor, though many do not choose to do this, thereby stressing their surgeon status. However, Debrett's continues to advise us that dentists are normally addressed as surgeons and that the title doctor is usually only used for dentists who have a doctoral degree. On March 5, 2015, the Council of the Royal College of Veterinary Surgeons, RCVS, voted to permit its members to use the courtesy title of doctor. Guidance from the RCVS says the title should be used either with the description veterinary surgeon or the postnominals MRCVS to ensure there is no confusion with doctors of human medicine or holders of doctoral degrees. Optometrists are not permitted to use the title doctor based on their initial qualification, BOptom or BSc, Optum. Optometrists can earn PhDs or Doctor of Optometry degrees. In the UK, a PhD level qualification for qualified optometrists with experience in practice. Ophthalmologists are fully qualified medical doctors. However, ophthalmology is considered a branch of surgery, thus ophthalmologists, like other surgeons in the UK, do not use the title doctor. The General Chiropractic Council permits registered chiropractors to use the title doctor, although it advises chiropractors to avoid using the title in advertising or, if they do, to spell out that they are doctors of chiropractic. The Committee of Advertising Practice advises, however, that references to DC or Doctor of Chiropractic are unlikely to dispel that misleading impression of being a medical practitioner, when used in conjunction with unqualified references to the prefix Dr., saying that the use of the title by chiropractors may be acceptable in advertising if clearly and prominently qualified with additional text which makes clear it is a courtesy title and that the practitioner does not hold a general medical qualification. The Advertising Standards Authority has ruled that practitioners of traditional Chinese medicine should not use the title doctor in adverts unless they hold a general medical qualification and are registered with the General Medical Council. It similarly advises that osteopaths should not use the title unless holding a general medical qualification. There have also been rulings that an advert for an osteomyologist which referred to him as a doctor was misleading, as was an advert which used the title Dr. and the postnominals PhD on the basis of a PhD from an unaccredited university. Holders of honorary doctorates in the UK have the right, in most cases, to use the title of doctor, although holders are encouraged to refrain from doing so. Black says that the same rules apply as to other holders, although notes that the postnominals would not normally be used. In some circumstances, doctor may be used on its own as a form of address rather than as a title before a name. This is limited to when the person is being addressed by their job title and so is only used for medical doctors. Wales follows UK usage in English. In Welsh, the holder of a doctoral degree is doctor while a medical doctor is doctor or meddyg. The title Y doctor is used by those holding doctorates, e.g. Y doctor Brinley Jones, Y doctor John Elf Jones, which can be abbreviated Dr. Medical doctors use, as in English, the title doctor, also abbreviated Dr. Doctor is abbreviated Dr. in British English and Dr. in North American English. The plural abbreviation is DRS. In British English it is not necessary to indicate an abbreviation with a full stop after the abbreviation, when the first and last letters of the abbreviation are the same as for the unabbreviated word, i.e. the abbreviation is a contraction, as in the case for doctor. In the United Kingdom, it is normal also to omit stops from postnominal letters, thus the usual abbreviation for Doctor of Philosophy is PhD, or DPhil, where this is used. The fully punctuated PhD, or Doctor of Philosophy, is anachronistic and, where the abbreviated form of the degree is defined by regulation rather than custom, e.g. Oxford, may be technically incorrect. American English makes no distinction between abbreviations that are contractions and abbreviations that are not. A period is used, the abbreviation of doctor is usually written as Dr. in North America. However, the U.S. Postal Service prefers punctuation to be omitted from addresses. An honorary doctorate is a doctoral degree awarded for service to the institution or the wider community. It may also be awarded for outstanding achievement in a particular field. This service or achievement does not need to be academic in nature. Often, the same set of degrees is used for higher doctorates, but they are distinguished as being honoris causa. In comprehensive lists, the lettering used to indicate the possession of a higher doctorate is often adjusted to indicate this, for example, Hon. SCD, as opposed to the Earned Research Doctorate SCD. The degrees of Doctor of the University, D. University, and Doctor of Humane Letters, DHL, however, are only awarded as honorary degrees. By convention, recipients of honorary doctorates do not use the title Dr. in general correspondence, although in formal correspondence from the university issuing the honorary degree it is normal to address the recipient by the title. However, this social convention is not always scrupulously observed. Notable people who defied social convention and used the honorary prefix include Benjamin Franklin, who received honorary master's degrees from Harvard and Yale in 1753, and from the College of William and Mary in 1756, and doctorates from the University of St. Andrews in 1759 and the University of Oxford in 1762 for his scientific accomplishments. He thereafter referred to himself as Dr. Franklin. Maya Angelou, who held many honorary doctorates, called herself and was referred to by many as Dr. Angelou despite holding no undergraduate or advanced, non-honorary, degree. Booker T. Washington was often referred to as Dr. Washington after receiving an honorary doctorate from Dartmouth College. Sukarno, President of Indonesia, was awarded 26 honorary doctorates from various international universities including Columbia University, the University of Michigan, the University of Berlin, the Al-Azhar University, the University of Belgrade, the Lomonosov University and many more. And also from domestic universities including the Universitas Gadjah Mada, the Universitas Indonesia, the Bandung Institute of Technology, and the Universitas Padjadjaran. He had often been referred to by Indonesian government at the time as Drir. Sukarno, combined with his degree in architecture, IR, from Bandung Institute of Technology. Sukarno is the president with the highest number of honorary doctorates in the world. Author and lexicographer Samuel Johnson, who had some years earlier been unable, due to financial considerations, to complete his undergraduate studies at Pembroke College, Oxford, was awarded the degree of Master of Arts by diploma in 1755, in recognition of his scholarly achievements. In 1765, Trinity College Dublin awarded him the degree of Doctor of Laws, and in 1775 Oxford bestowed upon him the degree of Doctor of Civil Law by diploma. He never referred to himself as Dr. Johnson, even though a degree by diploma is distinct from an honorary degree, but it was used by his contemporaries and in his biography by James Boswell. Other uses of doctor. In some regions, such as the southern United States, doctor is traditionally added to the first name of people holding doctorates, where it is used in either direct or indirect familiar address. Doc is a common nickname for someone with a doctoral degree, in real life and in fiction. For example, the gunfighter Doc Holliday, the Australian politician H.V. Doc Evatt, the character Doc in Gunsmoke, and pulp hero Doc Savage. In Roman Catholicism and several other Christian denominations, a doctor of the church is an eminent theologian. For example, Saint Thomas Aquinas, also known as the angelic doctor, from whose teachings the whole church is held to have derived great advantage. African leaders often refer to themselves as doctor as part of their title upon assuming office. Thank you for watching this video.